I'm sure we could create more drama. Like all these people, they want drama. I mean, my wife and my daughters, they watch these shows, the Housewives of this, the Bling of that. We have to vote you off an island or something.
Henry's going to come out with a torch and
Yes,
put it in the water. That's it. I'm out.
something. Something.
Well, I guess I retire then. Hey, I'm Mike Ungaro, and welcome to episode 5 of Fish Factor. I'm CEO, visionary, and business co-owner of the Kings of Fish TV series on Amazon Prime and the legendary San Pedro Fish Market. Under my leadership, we saw double-digit annual sales growth for over a decade and became the second most visited seaside attraction on the Western Seaboard, second only to SeaWorld. On this channel, you'll get an exclusive behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to run a multi-generational business that's been operating since 1956, the highs, the struggles, and the unique challenges of working with family. You'll see firsthand what it takes to keep a seafood empire thriving while also producing our TV series Kings of Fish, which you can watch right here on YouTube and on Amazon Prime. Today I'm talking to Albert Dweck. He's the founder and CEO of Duke Properties, a real estate developer based in New York, who's now playing a critical role here at San Pedro Fish Market, leading our real estate department, negotiating leases, and helping us find financing for our expansion. I've known Albert for a long time, but we didn't actually start working together until we had to leave our locations in San Pedro and move the entire restaurant into a parking lot pop-up. He came to me and he said, I don't understand how a business is popular and successful ends up in this situation. Let me help. He offered to take over finance and real estate, helping us negotiate leases and find money, and that's where he came in. Since founding Duke in 2001, Albert has been the managing principal of over 40 real estate partnerships with approximately 500 units under management in the northeastern U.S. So that's it. That's Albert. Welcome to Fish Factor, my friend. How you doing?
Thanks, man. I love being here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, it's great, man. How long have we known each other? Has it been a decade now? I don't know.
Another at least 10 years, and I feel like we're like related, even though, your family's Italian and my family's like Syrian Jewish. We're like, I don't know. It's like your kids could be my kids could be your kids. It's like that. And, we have cigars together. We enjoy a lot of the same things. To me, it's really,
Not everybody can keep up with a 14-hour food tour.
No, and not everybody wants it. Like, it's only, only the Ungaros and the Dwecks want those things, so.
Yeah. It's great. We have a great time together. It's nice too, because as you know, my daughter now lives like just a short walk away from you. Looking forward to visiting soon, so we can get together.
We'll see you. Your daughter does live in the neighborhood, so.
Yeah, it's fun. I'll be there. Hey, so let's start with this, man. So the viewers at home can get an idea of your background. Give us a little bit of your origin story and how you got into real estate.
Yeah, I found myself in my early 20s, and I was in the importing and exporting business, traveling really the world. I had a young family. My passport ran out of space. I was doing pretty well at that, actually, and but I found myself having to remake merchandise. Like I would go find trendy stuff in Europe and make it in China, and then sell it in America. And it was just it was a tough time, meaning for me, just physically and on my family. And then I'm like, oh well, I want to make something that I don't have to make again. And for me, I had a really an affinity for real estate, so basically I inhaled it. I took every class I could take, read books, and started thinking about how I wanted to get into that. And, really it was for me, it was staying around my home and staying within like a 90-mile radius of that. And my focus was on residential real estate from the beginning. So I started really buying houses, and then I graduated quickly to building. So now pretty much an apartment building business, although I have a bunch of retail stores, and I've been doing it for about almost 25 years now. And, I've developed a lot of knowledge and capabilities over time. And, when they say when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So, I was, when you, over a cigar session, you and I and we were hanging out, and you told me your real estate problems. And I was like, oh, here's what I would do, X, Y, and Z. And then you're like, you did them. And that worked out. And then, you came back with more problems. I'm like, basically we I was able to help you with my knowledge. So I'm happy to do that.
Yeah. And I remember. I think what we were talking about is we used to meet at the Ritz-Carlton Half Moon Bay, not the hotel, but just outside, smoke cigars and talk business before conferences we'd go to. And I remember one time I had put together like a request or agenda for the group. There was like six, seven, eight of us. And this restaurant chain I know is in bankruptcy. There's a location I really like. What would you do? And everybody, I talked to your attorney, go here, do. Everybody had a different idea. He was like, just call the landlord. He's probably not getting paid. It was like, turned out they weren't. So all of a sudden the location was ours. I was going to spend all this money on lobbyists and attorneys and all this other stuff, and I was just like, just call the landlord. What do you waste your time with? I forgot that was the first time we really
Yeah, and
like produced a transaction.
that's how we got the Long Beach location, which is now
Yeah.
doing almost $7 or $8 million a year, which is really
Yeah.
one of the main locations we have, and really was one of the locations you counted on, through COVID, which was amazing. And it's a beautiful, beautiful place
Yeah.
with water and really consistent with what you're looking to do in growth. And what I found with you guys was, all the accomplishments you have as being like one of the biggest restaurants in the world, and like what what landlord wouldn't want you as a tenant? Like lines waiting outside the door, people doing huge business. I'm like, and I remember we were having some problems, like thinking about like what was going to happen in the existing location. I'm like, okay, so we'll get more locations. Why people are driving hundreds of miles to have fish? Why wouldn't they go to another location, or why can't we
Yeah.
get more locations? So we started, you and I started thinking about that project. It's like, well, I said, okay, Mike, I'm going to come out and we're going to start looking around at where you would be, in this, like what other locations would be possible. And we had a great
Yeah.
time. I mean, we
We did.
we smoked Mike's car.
What's funny? What's funny? What I was thinking about. So on that trip, you and I, we drove through Malibu, right? We went all the way up the coast, and there was a guy selling strawberries.
Diego to Malibu. It was crazy.
Yeah, and I was watching. I was flipping around the channels, and I came around one of the Iron Man movies where he's driving that same route, and he buys a flat of strawberries. I'm like, that's exactly the guy we bought ours from.
Yeah, so we were driving right. We were driving up the coast, which is unfortunately now got decimated by fires. But we were
Not a drive
driving
now,
up the
no.
coast, right? And we there were people selling strawberries on the side of the road. So Mike got a new car, and then we cracked the windows open and we smoked cigars and we bought strawberries. So we're like buzzing down the highway, and we're like throwing strawberries out the window and smoking cigars, scouting locations, and then we would have to go, research. We'd have to eat in various locations on the way.
Yeah.
But since then, Mike's family is what, more than 60 years in the fish business, and you guys really know how to do that well. And but the truth is, you needed help with the real estate and the finance, and because you never, you had some great accomplishments in that domain. It's like if I could apply that knowledge and expertise that you have with some of the real estate and finance knowledge that I have, we could really grow the business. So that's what we embarked upon, and I as you know, I'm working to help you secure a long-term lease with West Harbor for the legacy location. So we signed, what functions for you like ownership almost. So we signed a 49-year ground lease. At
People think I'm crazy when I say that out loud. I'm like, but we were already there for 50 years.
One of the things that, if you remember, Mike, we set out to do was we wanted to look for locations to buy.
Mm-hmm.
And really, you can't buy the location that you're in because it's owned by the city, right, or the port, right?
Yeah.
So the only thing you could do is sign a long-term lease, and so we essentially did a ground lease that functions like an owner, like we're like an owner. So one of the concerns that we had for you was that you never want to be evicted again. You want to secure your long-term location, the future of the company for the next generations. So it's already been 4 generations now right? So now we're looking to the future for them. That was funny
Yeah.
because we're negotiating that deal, and I had to come back to Mike and his brothers, and I'm like, and his sister, and I'm like, okay, okay, I could think 20 years out. Here's my pro forma for 20 years. Okay,
Yeah.
so we did that, and then we go back to the developer who we're negotiating with, and the guy's like, okay, we did 20, now we got to do the next 30, and I go, how do you think about that? And then you get into that whole situation with your parents, and they tell you, oh, when I was little, I used to have a quarter, and I used to buy a pizza for a nickel, and I had extra change, and I had candy and an ice cream, and you're like, oh yeah. So now that same conversation. So Mike's head of operations come back and goes, I don't understand how a shrimp tray is going to be $100.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, inflation, you know?
Yeah. Or it was like even a shrimp cocktail, like $35 shrimp cocktail, $50 shrimp. Well, yeah, but it was like 25 cents before. Now, it's going to keep going up.
Right. So I didn't know how to think about,
Yeah.
that in reality. So, but we did a great, we're thankful that we did that deal to secure the future. And then, at the same time, so for me, that was, Mike brought me in to handle that. So that was really important to do. And, we're going to build it. So, right now we have the, table set.
So, in that same in line with that, it's like we also negotiated, thanks to you and your help, because I was ready. I did really walk away. Was our other project in Monterey, and that's a 30-year lease for that one. Would you hold that the same way? As it's as close as you can get to owning in the 30 years? Or does
Yeah.
it have to be
Yeah.
that long?
It's the 30-year lease is different than the ground lease that we have. It's not,
Mm.
it's similar but different. When you sign a long-term ground lease, which is really gets to like over 30 years or something like what we have, 49 years or 99 years, a lot of times when you see a ground lease, that's when they function as ownership almost. And if you build something there, you could sell that to somebody else. Um,
Mm.
with a lease that's usually less than that, banks and finance companies, they don't look at it the same way. So it becomes more of like a regular deal, which it is. I mean, Monterey is not a regular deal. It's a very special deal that we did with the
Yeah.
city of Monterey. And, the concerns we had there on behalf of the family, and it was like, oh, we're in Southern California, and there's something about that I learned also on our trip was like, San Pedro is different than in being in Hollywood or being in Beverly Hills, right? Or in Santa Monica, right? So the people in Santa Monica, they go, oh, we don't go to San Pedro. I'm like, oh. So imagine going from San Pedro, which was like an hour to Santa Monica on the highway. You're like on the freeway. You're like, oh, I'm going to Monterey now. Oh, like,
Yeah.
like Monterey is a 5-hour drive, So,
Yeah.
so Monterey Wharf is a destination, obviously, for
Yeah.
major tourism, the Monterey Bay Aquarium and whatever. And, it certainly makes sense for us to be there on their wharf, and they really wanted us there, and we wanted to be there. So we were, again, one of those hammer and nail situations. Mike, I'm the hammer, it looks like a nail. So Mike
Yeah.
got me involved, and he wound me up, and we had a great time. And frankly, we're very excited about that. There was an existing 17,000 square foot building on the wharf in Monterey, which is, an iconic location and really fits with us. And, frankly, it was very similar to the size of the Long Beach deal where we got involved with Long
Yeah.
Beach. So, it's one thing, the legacy location that we have is was unique and is unique and special and very big. But when you go out to do new locations going forward, you're like, I'm thinking about, uh, what's a repeatable, what's the footprint that we're looking for going forward? What's the
Yeah.
right size for us?
Right. And when you thinking about that, it's like we also track where the customers come from. And we know, like we've got this huge amount of people that live even in Santa Monica, whether Santa Monica knows it or not. They're still coming from there. Same with Monterey, San Francisco, Bakersfield, Fresno. Not all waterfront places though. But then if you start looking, there's this huge number of people coming from Phoenix and Las Vegas. which I think would be kind of our next move. And then San Diego as well,
Dude,
Ventura. There's all these coastal areas and inland areas where I think there's a lot of potential for our next moves.
yeah, dude, I agree with you. And you know, there's what I know is you guys make great food and it's iconic and people crave it and it's special, the shrimp tray. And not that I eat the shrimp tray, but I have other fish on the shrimp tray. But it's amazing, and people, travel from all over to have it, and it's super experience. So it's a great value for a family to share. So people want it, and
Yeah.
you guys have 4 world records. Where
Yeah.
obviously it's a very special. Like I make it in my own house. With your spices. So that's another part of the business where you want to grow it, and you have a following. You have 2 million customers a year that are coming. So there are people that if they could have it near them would be very interested in coming. You know. But the funny
So
thing is for me and
yeah.
you, the Monterey Bay Aquarium wants to have seafood restaurants. That's like a weird thing. Is that weird or just me?
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to go over yet. I think we're going to find out. They set the standard for what's considered sustainable and what should be eaten and shouldn't be eaten. And I'm like, I look at that going, man, we're going to have to really reinvent some of the things we're ordering if this is becoming if this is the standard we have to set.
Yeah,
But I don't know yet.
yeah,
All new. That's all the stuff we have to figure out once we get the bill. As we design the kitchen, which is what we're doing now.
yeah.
Well, that brings me to my next question, right? So now we have these big locations that we're rebuilding or building from the ground up or inventing. Where are we going to find the money, Al?
You know, there's a saying that I have, or that I learned from a mentor of mine. He said, when the president of the United States shows up to the hotel and the
Yeah,
hotel is sold out, they find him a room. They always make room
yeah,
for the president. So
that's a good one.
it's the same. It's the same thing. It's for you. It's like, this very successful, and I think, and I don't know. You saw the movie The Founder of McDonald's, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Croc, and I was thinking all these chains that are successful, they must have started somewhere, right? And I could see that in you guys, right? So on the one hand, I think some restaurants that are emerging or come out, they have like a concept and people excited, they like it. But you guys have been doing it for 60 years. Like, let's, you know, so
yeah.
that's how we raise the money. You go out and you tell people, "Oh, you love it. We're great. We have all these customers." It's not like a concept like I'm testing. Oh, how about this? There's a concept we're testing, and then you could invest in it, and maybe you'll make money. How about we've been doing it for 60 years? Do you
That's a
want to
good
be a
point.
part of it or not?
Yeah,
That's really how we're going to raise the money. And there's people. I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure there's people that are excited about what we're going to be doing and what we are doing. And you never
yeah.
really went out for that kind of money before. So I think it's like now it's the time.
It brings up a good point because, we have been around for a long time. We had these long-term leases. We built from the ground up, at least once. And I don't, it's interesting because as much as we're running the restaurants and the things that we're doing, like the way that you're thinking about real estate and finance is just, even though my uncle, who's, one of the main owners and founder of the company and owns a lot of real estate, still like having these conversations are foreign. So I don't think it's really common to be thinking about. Now, I remember when we were in the situation where we had to build the San Pedro fish market, right? There was an eviction. We got to move out. We're in a parking lot. That was like 1980. And they opened in 1982 after
Oh,
being there.
just
And I remember
I think that's
like he didn't know.
way to tell. Like I think that what
Yeah.
what 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 happened before was you were in this location that you started from like a shack, right? And then basically the port got redeveloped. You had to move out to a temporary
Yeah.
location. Then the
Yeah.
building got rebuilt. And you moved into the new building. Oh, same thing's
Yeah.
happening right now.
It really is. It's such a redo that I would rather not go through. But it's like interesting. I remember him like he was good looking all over the place for the money. And I think at one point he was having a conversation in the dining room or somewhere in the restaurant or the business. And these guys came up to him and goes, "We can help you with that." Like just randomly. He flew out I think he flew all the way out to Texas to talk to him. You don't realize that the people are there. It's having that networking, knowing where to find them.
Yeah, there are
Which is
people
where you
there are people out there. We have to um, you know, package ourselves appropriately for them, like and speak how they speak. To your credit, you guys do a great job at serving people, food, family, celebrating food, family, and fun. Right? You guys do that really well,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and you know you're there's something there to build on, right? But you never went out and said, "Hey, I want to make this a household name across the country or the world."
Yeah.
And there are people that do that. There are people that say, I want to be a part of that growth. I want to create that growth." And so, and what I wanted to say is, you're great at marketing what you do have, to produce the traffic that you do have. So, I think you've packaged yourself very successfully, and now it's like you've done that to get customers. Now you got to get that package yourself to uh, get the appropriate capital investment that you want, and
Yeah. And I mean,
and that's a choice. We're going to have different selections, and the idea is for me to spin up different options for you, and so that you could choose the best one that works for your family and your long-term goals, and you know, like that.
yeah.
Like,
Great. I mean, I think all of that is the story that we are, right? That's what we're talking about, which is what one of the main reasons why we created the series Kings of Fish, because it's not only an opportunity to be entertaining, but for our purposes, it's an opportunity to create these B2B, business to business narratives like we're doing here around our history and our background and what it is we're doing that might bore the entertainment customer, but not necessarily the business partner. Because I was thinking about this yesterday. We're having this conversation on how we're producing the next season of Kings of Fish. Like, who can we partner with? And I was like, there's 2 million people coming through a year. We have an email list. We have 700,000 people just on social media. And our email list wasn't as big as I thought, but it's still 60,000 people. Like, what percentage of our customer base are potential like partners? They might work somewhere that would want to partner with us, but they might also be involved with a business that our sponsors would be interested in advertising to. Which makes the investment. So I think we stepped over that because we're so busy in the weeds just trying to figure out how to put some of this stuff together. So I don't know. I'm really optimistic about some of the things that we'll be able to do in the future. It's a lot of fun.
there's no doubt. There's no doubt. Um, I'm sure we could create more drama. Like all these people, they want drama. I mean, my my wife and my daughters, they watch these shows, The Housewives of this, the bling of that. You know, we have to vote you off an island or something, or
Henry's going to come out with a torch and
yes.
put it in the water. And that's it. I'm out.
So,
Well, I guess I'll retire then.
like
All right, Evan, I have one last question. I'll let you go. If you had people, and I actually have a deeper reason for asking, so I'll give you the background. It's like, you have Tommy Sr., right? Our partner, my uncle, he's had a lot of real estate that he's invested in over the years, and his family has come to us and our family. It's like, well, we should learn more about that. But outside of that, it's also business owners I know, instead of putting their money in the stock market or in a can in the backyard, they look for real estate as a longer term investment. Like, what kind of advice would you give to people that want to get into that as an investment for their retirement or their livelihood or generational wealth?
Yeah, I mean, so when you think about investing in general, in your portfolio, there's different ways to think about. Ultimately, it's about returns, right? It's about producing returns, right?
Yeah.
And you and I studied together somewhere, so we know like the stock market over like 100 years. What's the average return of the stock market? It's like 8%.
8%.
With the stock market, though, you can click a button and sell your stock, right? So, all right, what's another alternative today? Of course, somebody look at this later, and you could get 4 or 5% in the bank today, like right, and that's FDIC insured, or you could buy a treasury that's like 4% today, depending on the tariffs. But so that's okay. So now you say, well, I have some money to invest, and I could make 8% in the stock market, but of course it went down 5% today. So you're like, oh, maybe that's not something I could think about. But it's like out of all the money I have to invest, you have to allocate your assets in different ways. So real estate is an allocation that people have in their portfolios, right?
Okay.
Makes sense?
Yeah. Sure.
So then the question is, how much do you allocate of all the money you have to invest into real estate? So general rule of thumb is like around 10%, 10 to 20%, right?
Okay.
Because of first to balance risk and liquidity, right? So
Yeah.
if the stock market goes to junk, right? Then at least you have the people in the real estate. At least you have the bricks, right? So that gives you like a alternative to that. Or if there's a liquidity crisis or a banking crisis, which we've seen, at least you have money in the bricks, and people have to live somewhere and they're paying rent or whatever. So that's a reason why you have real estate, because we say there's inherent value in the real estate. That's one of the reasons. But it's illiquid, right? Because if I told you, okay, sell it tomorrow, you can't just sell it tomorrow, right? So the returns when you're investing in real estate need to be adjusted for the lack of liquidity, right? So that's why we say when you're looking for real estate, you don't put all your money there, but you put some, and you make sure that your returns counterbalance the let's say the 8% that's in the market. You have to look for a different return in real estate because of the liquidity. Different. And it depends on where you're running real estate, right? Because the risk is different too.
So like bricks, bonds, banks, something like that.
Bricks, bonds. Another one is jewelry, right? People say, cash, right?
Yeah, cash.
What are you worried about? So like, a third. I don't know. You heard a third. People do that. A third in cash, third in jewelry, a third in real estate, a third in stocks. People do different things, but that's one way to think about it, right? It's like, what's going to happen if things go nuts?
That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. I mean, that's great advice. I don't think the average person. I have conversations with like friends, and some know a little bit of this, some know very little, some a little bit more. But I think on average, I think people are just waiting. I'm just going to retire someday. I don't think it's in their mind.
No.
Wow. Where's that coming from?
Things you and I thought about. It's like we read that book by Ray Dalio, like The Changing World Order, right? And you're watching it now, right? When, right. So you're watching it now. What happens when the United States currency is not the world currency, and China's currency is the high, and and then we have friends like, oh well, what happens if the economy goes zero out? Like we talk about AI, right? AI.
Yeah.
50% of the AI experts thinks that there's 10% chance that it could destroy the world. You're like, oh
yeah.
Well, I said
that's a problem.
I'm using AI every day, but there's a 10% chance that it could destroy the world. You're like, so where do I go if that happens? Right? Do I live on a farm? Do I grow my own vegetables? Do I eat my own fish? Right?
Yeah.
Do I live in my own building? So those questions happen.
Wow. Yeah. Big stuff to ponder. All right. Well, I'm gonna call it. This is a great conversation. Anything last words you want to add before we jump off here?
Thanks for having me. When are we smoking a cigar? And also, like, if you were smoking and I was smoking, could I smell your cigar? When are they coming out with smell-o-vision? I don't understand. This is very.
Why is it taking so long?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't understand that. Also, it's another question.
If the smell of cigar came out of the computer, Anita would make me go to a whole different office or something. It's like you're not safe.
Me too.
All right. Well, thanks for being on, and thanks for listening.
Thanks,
everybody.
I look forward to coming back. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you for listening to episode 5 of Fish Factor. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel. You can also catch all the episodes of our Amazon Prime show, Kings of Fish, right here. For more, visit us at sanpedrofish.com and follow along on Instagram at sanpedrofish and at Kings of Fish. Next episode is all about the origin of our world-famous shrimp trays. One of the core values at San Pedro Fish Market is innovation, and in 1982, we leaned into that by introducing shrimp and veggies, potatoes and garlic bread into the menu, and we gave people the opportunity to create their own seafood trays. I'll talk about how that moment reflects the spirit of innovation that's always been part of who we are.